Good afternoon. We're going to resume our committee meetings for January 25th, and we will start with our very first of Public Works, and Councilmember Terry Borneman is chair.
Thank you, Pinky. What do we, how many we've got? Let me see here. We have 3 items before us today, and joining me on the committee is Jean Knudsen and Roxanne Murphy. The first item that we have is a bid award for the 2015 sanitary sewer replacement project.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Ted Carlson, Public Works Department. As Councilmember Borneman mentioned, before you today is a request to award bid for our annual sewer replacement program. This year the project is in the Happy Valley neighborhood near Old Fairhaven Parkway, largely in the vicinity of our Padden Creek daylighting project. And in fact, there's a couple aspects of it that are related to the Padden Creek daylighting project. We are here to request that council award bid, but I'd like to turn it over to Craig briefly, and he'll go through some of the aspects of the project and answer any questions that council may have.
Okay. Thank you. Craig.
Good afternoon. Craig Mueller, Public Works Project Engineer. And the 2015 sanitary sewer replacement project is definitely interconnected with the Padden Creek daylighting. And the 21st Street right-of-way, just about half a block north of Old Fairhaven Parkway, there's a sanitary sewer siphon that goes underneath the tunnel, which is why it was there, and now there's an above-ground creek that goes through there. During design, we looked at this. It's a 1960s sewer siphon. Other than routine maintenance of jetting it every 6 months, we haven't had any problems with it. However, now that the creek is there, it poses a couple of issues. One is it is not built to current siphon standards. There's no redundancy to it, just a single pipe. There's no backup. And the other is that in 50 to 100 years from now, when this has to be replaced, there's now a creek running over it, which complicates it, which drives up the cost for replacement. So we looked at replacing that as part of the daylighting project. If we would do that, you still have a siphon with a manhole on either side of a salmon-bearing stream. So we looked at options for, can we eliminate that from the system? Siphons are regularly maintenance nightmares, or can be. There's also another smaller siphon at 22nd Street. Both of these are also to convey sewer underneath the existing brick tunnel. So this project will eliminate both of those siphons from the system. It will remove any risk of a potential overflow associated with the siphons and directly into the creek, and it will also remove any expensive replacement down the road. And I'm not talking 10 or 20 years. This should have at least a 100-year lifespan to it. But at that point too, you won't have to deal with the creek. So this project will reroute the flow. Instead of crossing at 21st Street right-of-way, we're going to take it from that point up 21st Street to Donovan, across Donovan to 22nd Street, down 22nd Street to Old Fairhaven Parkway, and Old Fairhaven Parkway to 21st Street and tie in. Underneath the new Padden Creek channel at 22nd Street, as part of that project, we installed a very large casing pipe underneath the culvert so that there's no work that has to be done within the creek itself. So this was went out for bid. We had six bids. The lowest was Strider Construction for $1,291,745.64, tax included. and the engineer's estimate was $1,159,682.
Gene?
I move low bid.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, we have a, yes, Michael.
With regard to the current siphon, will it be decommissioned and removed, or is anything left in place?
It will be decommissioned in place. Generally, the manholes would be filled with flowable fill, controlled density fill, basically low-strength concrete. But the piping would stay in place, so we don't have to do any excavating underneath the tunnel, underneath the stream. So basically, from the two manholes on either end, it would be filled and left in place.
Great. Any other questions? Seeing none, we have a motion before us. All those in favor, answer aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll recommend approval tonight.
Thank you very much.
Our next item is a bid award for the commercial street parking garage upgrades.
Thank you. Several years ago, council may recall, we had a larger commercial street parkade garage project in the budget, just around $4 million, that was going to do complete rehabilitation of the parkade, including some exterior improvements. After discussion with council and the community, Downtown Bellingham Partnership or Business Partnership, that project has been split into two projects. The first project, which is before council today, takes care of some of the issues associated with the larger project, but not all of the exterior work. The project before council for award today deals with some ADA, some accessibility issues within the structure. Also largely addresses signage within the structure itself for some consistency, rebranding of the commercial street parking garage, some wayfinding to help people find the parking garage a little bit easier. Deals with some safety issues within the stairwell to make that a little bit more attractive for people to go up and down the stairs in the parkade, and that will include cutting holes in the exterior of the stairway so people can see in and out of the stairwell. Also, we'll be allowed to remove the doors from the stairwell, which will make it less attractive for people to sleep in there or hang out in the stairwell, making it safer for our users. Some lighting improvements and things of that nature. Eric Johnson's here as well as Clark Williams, who oversees parking for the city, to answer any additional questions that council may have, but we're here to recommend that council award the bid to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder.
Okay. Roxanne.
Well, just to get it going, I will move that we award the bid for the commercial street parking garage to HB Hansen.
Okay.
Second.
Dan?
I have a question in regards to compliance with ADA accessibility. Where's the pay station located in the parkade?
Clark will come up and answer some of the specifics of the project, including where we're going to be putting the charging stations and where the pay stations are.
Is this on? There we go. Clark Williams, Public Works. And go ahead, can you please restate the question?
Yeah, will the pay station that's on the ground floor right now be located in a different location?
No, there's no reconfiguration of parking now. The first floor or ground floor is all hourly parking, and there's 3 pay stations, one at either stairwell and one coming up the alley in the back. So those aren't moving.
Okay. The reason I ask is because I have a constituent with a daughter with a physical disability, and she wants to use the parkade as much as she can, but she's not able to bring her daughter and the stroller up the stairs after she pays at the pay station. So I'm trying to understand how we would be compliant with ADA rules if that's the situation in the future.
So the accessibility for ADA for handicap parking is on the, we'll call it the first floor. It's street level. So you would have to come in the garage and she would have to drive up to the first level, let her daughter out, because the elevator doesn't go down to the basement.
Her daughter's too, so I don't think that she would want to
Sure.
leave her daughter out.
Well, what we could do in that case is look at some hourly parking on the first floor.
Okay.
We haven't had that complaint in the past, but like I said, the elevator doesn't go down to the basement, so that's why the handicap
Right. Right. So
access is
that's the
ground level.
disconnect for me, is that the that there is no elevator service to the basement. The basement is currently the only pay station, so I'm concerned with families with disability being able to access and use the facility.
We can certainly address that. One of the things that's included in this is access controls for the permitted parking. So as we move away from the physical stickers that you have to put in your car, there's some access gates that are going in with an RFID card. So that'll allow us to reconfigure some of the permitted parking. So theoretically, we could make half of the street level hourly parking versus permitted. We're oversold, but there's typically about 80 permitted spots that are empty on any given day.
All right.
Yes, Michael.
I'm glad to see you moving forward on signage in particular, but there's also been some concern just about kind of the street front aspect of the parking garage. Is any of those kind of improvements, other than the signage and rebranding, included, or is that being put off for the larger project later?
All of the exterior work, including the storefronts, the awnings, anything associated with the commercial space, it will be part of the second phase.
And we're looking 2-3 years out. Do we know any idea yet?
One of the things we're working on right now is through contract with the Downtown Business Partnership, a better understanding of the downtown business needs as it relates to the parking garage. So we'd like to have that study done, which should be done, supposed to be done this year. I think that we would be able to look at least potentially addressing it in the 17-18 biennium.
Okay, anything
And
else?
I should add that we did address that in the bid specifications. We asked the architect to look to see if they could remove those concrete retaining walls along Commercial. If you look at the bid report, it is an alternate number 1, and it was $61,000. What we got back was essentially what looked like a Washington State DOT guardrail.
Right.
It wasn't really attractive, so we thought at this point in time it didn't make sense to spend $61,000 for a guardrail.
Can I follow up on that?
Okay.
Of the 61,000, I mean, I agree, an ugly guardrail isn't much of an improvement.
Right.
Removing the physical barrier is. Could you even estimate if like 90% of that was removal and 10% was the new railing, or was it kind of, you know, the railing couldn't be that expensive, or maybe it could be that expensive?
Well, to construct a barrier on the Commercial Street side that was rated for vehicle traffic was the expense. It was a lump sum bid for the alternate, but we felt it was better to include it when we did the awning and the storefront so that we could design something that matched the overall facade of the exterior.
I think most of that railing is pedestrian railing. It's up on the sidewalk, not near where the car travels. So, but it has to be designed to corral cars, even though it's 8 feet up in the air?
Right, on the Commercial Street side of the ramps, on the entrance and the exit ramps, there's about a 3-foot concrete retaining wall.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. We have a motion before us. I see no further questions. All those in favor, answer aye.
Aye.
Aye? All right. We'll recommend approval tonight. And the last item we have is an ordinance of the City of Bellingham regarding water service installation fees, amending Section 15.08.220 of the Bellingham Municipal Code.
Yes, thank you. What's before council today is a request to amend the BMC. And what we're hoping to do through that amendment is to provide a little bit better predictability for developers that are requesting new water services, and also create some administrative efficiencies. Currently, the way it works, when someone is requesting a larger water service, so anything over 1 inch, so we're talking mostly about commercial development, fire lines, not necessarily typical single-family residences, which would be 1 inch or less. But for those larger services, the developers provide the city with a deposit, so we don't charge a flat fee. They work with our staff to determine how much it's going to cost to provide the service and the associated meter, and they provide a deposit to the city. The city goes out and does the work. The city crews go out and make the connection to the water service, including all of the associated trenching and pipe installation, and we charge against the deposit. If for whatever reason the construction is more expensive than was anticipated, we have to bill the developer for the overruns. If we come in under the deposit, then we refund the remaining deposit to the developer. What's happened in the past is, whenever you're digging in the right-of-way, you may come across something unexpected, which is going to increase the costs. In those cases, we're having to invoice the developer for those overages. What we're proposing is to reduce the amount of work that city staff does. So rather than having our water crews doing all the excavation work would be done by the private developer, and the city staff would come in and just make the connection to the water main. So we still control that work. Only our staff are making the taps to the live water main, so we're able to protect the integrity of the water system, do the work that's most critical in the safest way possible, but put all of the street excavation back onto the contractor at their risk, and they can control their costs by using their own contractor. In turn, we would just charge a flat fee for our work, and we went back and looked over the last 5 years and came up with an average of what it costs us to do the actual physical tap to the water main, and that's what our fee would be to the developers. So what they would pay the city would be much less than what they pay now, but the scope of the work that the city staff did is also reduced. We believe it provides more predictability to the contractor, allows them to control their costs, but also protects the integrity of the water system. That requires a change to the municipal code, because the municipal code currently says it's a deposit, not a flat fee. The other side of it is the administrative efficiencies of not having to either invoice for additional work or refund the balance of the deposit. So Brent is here, Brent Baldwin, the development manager, to answer any questions that council may have. We believe that this will be well received by the developers. They certainly would like the predictability and the ability to control cost with their contractor rather than just having to pay whatever our actual costs are. There is one other component to it which deals with those smaller services for the 1 inch and smaller. We are proposing a fee increase for those. We haven't adjusted those fees for many years, I think 2005 or somewhere in that ballpark. So it's been 10 years or so, and our actual cost of buying the meters and the materials has just gone up since then, and we would like to make an adjustment so that we cover the cost of doing that work. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Committee, Roxanne?
I move that we pass the ordinance regarding water service installation fees in the Bellingham Municipal Code.
Second.
I just have one question. I assume I know the answer, but with the new system, with the contractors doing the main work with it, if they come across unexpected problems, that's on their dime, right?
That's correct. That will
Okay.
be their
Good.
expense. One other change is the city will now have to inspect that work that's being done
Yeah.
by the private contractor. We'll be doing that with our water staff. The folks that used to do the work themselves will go out to make sure the work's being done to our standard, and the cost of our inspection is built into the flat fee. So we're still recovering our full cost.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes, April.
You came up with the fee by kind of going across the last 5 years, and I was wondering, did you do any small focus groups? Have you heard back from or reached out to the building community to find out? I tried to reach out, but most people that I know in that field are that like 1 inch and bigger. They're like, we don't typically deal with that, so just
Yeah.
interested.
That's a good question. The biggest change, you're right, is to the larger fire lines and commercial builders. One of the things we've heard from over the years is that they want to do the work themselves. They don't want the city to do the work. They believe they certainly feel they can do it less expensive than we can, but at the very least they want to be able to control those costs and deal with their contractors. So one of the reasons we're proposing this change is because of the feedback that we've received from the commercial developers over the years. I did mention this to the BIA, but we haven't had a large discussion about it, but we certainly believe it'll be supported by the BIA. That's for the larger than 1 inch. I think certainly there'll be some concerns about or comments about council, or we will probably receive about our fees going up for the smaller services, but we need to cover our costs, and we still think we can do it less expensive than the contractor can for the small services because we buy our meters in bulk and we get a very good price on it, certainly less expensive than they can buy it on their own.
Okay. Anything else? We have the motion before us. All those in favor, answer aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll recommend approval tonight. That's the last item. Oh, Okay. Okay. There has been a change in our agenda, so we are
It's page
taking an item
161.
from the consent agenda. And
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the modification of the schedule. We really just wanted to take an opportunity to highlight this agreement because I think it shows some good work between the City of Bellingham and Lake Whatcom Water and Sewer District. The item we're talking about is an amendment to the interlocal agreement with Lake Whatcom Water and Sewer District for sewer collection services and wastewater treatment services, and specifically amending the portion to deal with major capital projects. This amendment will cover how Lake Whatcom Water and Sewer District pays their proportionate fair share of the Post Point treatment plant improvements. And I'll turn it over to Eric. Both Eric and Matt Stamps were instrumental in negotiating this amendment, so Matt and Eric can walk through some of those changes.
Thank you, Ted. Eric Johnston, City of Bellingham Public Works, and as Ted mentioned, this has really been a really good partnership with the Water and Sewer District the last couple of years. You may recall 2 years ago we brought a change to the contract that we charge for their regular monthly utility charges. This is an addition to that contract. In this case, they are paying their share of the improvements to Post Point. And so in the agenda, Bill, you see the actual supplement to the agreement, which stipulates how they will pay for those improvements and where the cost of or their share of those improvements came from. In essence, they're paying their fair share of the $60 million worth of improvements to Post Point based on a percentage of their use of those facilities. And it allows for them to finance those improvements through the city over the period of 20 years. And in exchange for that, financing for that, they are agreeing to pay our cost of the borrowing plus a marginal percentage increase on that. So our cost to borrow is about 4.1%. They have agreed to pay 5.13% on the financing that they're borrowing. There are provisions in there that if they choose to prepay it or pay it off early, there's no penalty to that. So we are truly just trying to find a partnership where they cover their share and we cover our costs and nobody's left out in the lurch, if you will. It's a good agreement. The Lake Whatcom Water Sewer District Board voted on this agreement last Wednesday, and they were appreciative of the city's efforts to help support their efforts and work with this partnership. So we're very pleased to see this come forward today.
okay. Gene,
This is monumental compared to where we were with them 10, 15 years ago. So hats off to everybody who negotiated this. This is win-win for everybody, and it really shows how everybody's trying to do the right thing with water. So thank you, Ted.
Yeah, good work by Eric and Matt, and thank you to Patrick, their general manager. Certainly works very well with city staff and with the mayor, and I agree. It's definitely been a good partnership on this, and the city will get $2.3 million from Lake Whatcom Water and Sewer District over 20 years, which is a good deal when we look at the expense we had down at the plant.
so we need to approve the contract. So do I?
So moved.
Okay. Okay, any other questions? Okay, we got a motion before us. All those in favor, answer aye.
Aye.
Okay, we will recommend approval tonight. Now, end of committee.
Thank you, Terry. And we're going
Yeah.
to take a very quick little break for Syrie to catch up with us, and we'll